great to be joined by these two gentlemen. Tom Casale does great work at Action Network. Justin Perri does great work at Shot Quality Bets. Gentlemen, it's great to have you aboard, and we are down to just 3 games left in the college basketball season. And Justin, I will throw this to you first before we dive into the 2 games. Is there anything at this point that you're trying to unearth with regards to these last 3 games of the season, or are you sort of taking my approach in that the hay is relatively in the barn? If you get an unexpected injury, something like that, you make adjustments, but I feel like at this point, the numbers are the numbers that we've got, and it's just a case where I think every crevice that you could try to unearth has been unearthed.
Yeah, the shot quality method there is definitely going to be to let the larger body of work speak for itself, going with the season data, what we know these teams to be. Of course, there's always little room for tweaks in terms of trying to understand how teams are going to play each other based on matchups. But, I think we've seen a lot out of this UConn team, Miami team, FAU, and San Diego State. We know who these teams are at this point. It's time to put the data to work and just compare them fairly.
Absolutely. And how about you, Tom? Is there anything that you try to maybe look at a little bit differently for the Final Four? Or you sort of in the camp of myself and Justin, and that at this point, relatively, the numbers and the data available, it is what it is, and to just keep things relatively status quo to the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I used that exact same phrase today to somebody. I said, the hay's in the barn. It's there's a couple of games left. I feel like someone like me doesn't really have a big edge at this point in the season. We've seen these teams. Listen, it's going to come down to, is Miami going to shoot the ball well, or are they going to get to the free throw line a lot like they have been? It's going to come down to if San Diego State can stymie another team like they have so far in this tournament. It's just going to, like Justin said, we know what these teams are in the tournament. Now they're going to go on the court and play. And listen, it comes down to minute little things, right? Creighton goes 2 for 17 from 3. If they go 3 or 4 from 17 from 3, they're probably playing. So it's all those tiny little things that we get down to now that we're down to only the final 4 teams and 3 games left in the season.
Yep, I totally agree with you. I think that we're all in lockstep here, and let's take a look at what we do have available to us, and let's take a look at the early game in the Final Four, as it is Florida Atlantic and San Diego State, and San Diego State is a team that is being bet in the market. This is a number that opened up in a lot of places at 2. Most places had a 3, though we've seen a little bit of buyback. A few books are back at a 2.5, with a total on this game of 131.5. Justin, I'll lead off with you here, because I do think that the most dominant core in this game is the San Diego State defense, but I feel like Florida Atlantic is a little bit well-rounded. So how do you take a look at this, and would you rather have the more well-rounded team or the more dominant defense?
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with the more dominant defense here, guys. I think that the San Diego State defense has been one of the best units we've seen. It might be one of the best units remaining in terms of what they allow on like a points per possession basis. All we really need from San Diego State is a decently efficient offensive performance. And I think if they give us that, they have a good chance to get by any opponent. FAU should be no different. This 3-point defense from San Diego State is going to disrupt what FAU loves to do, which is take a high percentage of threes. Really good spacing for that FAU team and pretty good rebounding. So, in both these games, honestly, I'm looking at the boards as a major factor here. Whoever controls rebounding, pace, getting what they want, second chance points. This is where these games where every single bucket, when they depend on every single bucket, it really matters on the boards.
And I will turn this over to you, Tom. How do you view this first game between Florida Atlantic and San Diego State? Because both of these teams do have really good depth as well. I think that should be thrown in, because I do think that that's a big factor in this game.
Yeah, I agree with everything Justin said. I'll be honest, I missed on the San Diego State team. I knew they had defense, but I thought at some point their offense would bog down too much in the tournament. But listen, they've shut down Alabama and Creighton. That's pretty impressive. So I think FAU, for them to win, they got to get out and transition and get some easy buckets, which isn't easy against San Diego State. They're going to need another offensive performance like the Aztecs had against Creighton and hope that they can make a couple more shots, get some easy buckets. Listen, this FAU team has been phenomenal. Heck, that conference has been phenomenal. We just saw them play in the finals Heels in the NIT tonight. So they're no joke. They're for real. But I think San Diego State grinds this one out and moves on to the championship game.
I think that this is going to be just such a tremendous matchup. And then when it comes to UConn versus Miami, the spread is a little bit bigger, with UConn being in most places a 5.5 point favorite, and your total is ranging anywhere between 148.5 and 149. And Justin, when it comes to games in a football stadium like this, where you've got the shooter's eye being a little bit off, typically I lean a little bit to the under, but with what I've seen out of Miami thus far this year, and UConn is a team that's able to put in there as well. They're a top 13 team in terms of points scored on a per possession basis. I actually look at the over a little bit more in the spot because I know that Miami is going to score, and I know that this Miami defense, let's call it what it is, not too terrific.
Yeah, no, I think you have a good idea there. Shot quality is going to like the under. I really think that we've seen a lot of this Miami scoring done in a very interesting way. A lot of back against the wall, especially with this Texas run, like taking some flurries of threes, hitting a bunch of them late, sending these totals way, way over. Shot quality is going to expect this to be a little bit lower. We have a pretty sizable edge to the under, expecting defense to start to be the name of the game here for this UConn team that should have the ability on both sides of the floor to limit the rebounding for Miami, so no second chance points, and then, also probably getting some offensive boards of their own. And I just think that defensive presence should finally stop this rabid Miami offense. I think this one probably comes in a little bit closer to what we're projecting, which is going to be around 71.5 to 67 is our expected score here.
I think that this game is going to be a fascination. And Tom, where do you stand on this game, whether it is on the side or the total? Because right now with the side at 5.5, it's the absolute max I'd be willing to lay with UConn. I do think that UConn should be able to get it done. I do not want to lay anything more than the current number, though.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think UConn probably gets it done, but I lean Miami with the points. I think this is going to be a really good game. Like Justin talked about Miami making shots and everything, but listen, you hang 80 on Indiana, Texas, and Houston, and that's impressive. I don't care how lucky the shots are. And the thing is they're getting to the free throw line 52 out of 64 the last 3 games, and Connecticut fouls a lot. So I think this is going to be a really good game. Listen, Connecticut is beating teams by an average of 20 points in the tournament. There's no other way to say it. That's impressive, right? But I think Miami's been really impressive with the way they've scored on some of these top 50 Ken Pom defenses the last 3 games. I do think it comes down to what Justin said. I think UConn just has too much down low, and that ends up being the difference down the stretch. But I'm going to lean Miami plus the 5.5 here.
And these games are so interesting. And Justin, how do you view just the overall Final Four? Because I do think that UConn is very demonstratively that favorite to be able to get it done. And I really can't see a scenario where I could really buy into any of these other teams in the futures market.
For me, it's San Diego State is the only one I think is probably worth it in the market. I think that the price on UConn's is a little high. I mean, you're paying, minus 125 right now. I think I'm making them a little bit closer to 42, 43% to cut down the nets. I really like the price on San Diego State. They have been able to do it against some of the best offenses we've seen this season. Creighton and Alabama, both no joke. This 3-point shooting defense is almost impossible to quantify just what they're able to do. They want to put you in a rock fight. I like that for a team that could steal a championship in terms of what the numbers have. I'm not putting money on it myself, but if I had to take a team that wasn't the odds-on favorite, it's going to be San Diego State.
And Tom, are you in agreement that San Diego State might be the biggest threat to UConn at this point?
Yeah, I think I have a Miami's future at 65-1, so I'm hoping they win. But I do think UConn would rather see FAU. I think they match up really well with the Owls. San Diego State, man, if they get to that final game, they're going to be interesting. I would definitely take them plus the points in that game. And I think Justin's right. When you look at the futures market, UConn definitely the best team, but a little bit overvalued. So San Diego State, if you were going to bet right now, would be my pick as well.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.